Last week, I discussed why I had to become a picky thrifter. You guys, my hoard was absolutely out of control. I can now say that it's my inventory. This has really helped me become more organized and really eliminate the complete overwhelm that I was feeling on the daily. So if you guys missed that episode, head on over and give that one a listen. Now, in this week's episode, I am so excited to be interviewing Rachel from the Eclectic Cottage. Rachel has an amazing storefront located in Spokane, Washington. She also has a YouTube channel where she goes on thrifting missions and then upcycles her finds and then sells them in her store. So I can't wait to get this interview started.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrock. I want to thank you guys for joining me on my podcast. This is episode 15, and I have been interviewing a new guest every other week, which has been so much fun, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. Now, in today's episode, I am so excited to be interviewing Rachel with the Eclectic Cottage. I first met Rachel when she joined my membership group, and we just became fast friends. So let's go ahead and give a big welcome to Rachel. Let me bring her on. Hello, Rachel. Thank you so much
Hi,
for joining me today.
thanks for having
Um,
me.
yeah, so I'm super excited that you're here. So for my viewers and listeners, who haven't had the opportunity to have found you yet, tell me a little bit about yourself. Or tell
Well, well, I have a small store in Spokane, Washington, and I do a lot of thrifting and upcycling. I sell decor and vintage. I also have a nursery, so there's plants too, hence the word eclectic. So it's definitely kind of a mix of all the things that I really like. So.
Right. Yes, I know. I love so if you guys do not follow her yet on Facebook or YouTube, you definitely need to. I just love all the pictures that you post and the little short reels of your, of like the nursery portion and your beautiful vignettes inside your store. I always feel so inspired. So, love
Thanks.
seeing those.
Thanks.
Um So, as I was like thinking about what I wanted to interview you about or talk to you about, I realized the first thing is I don't even know exactly how you decided to start your business. Like, how did your business officially start? I'm assuming the storefront started first, then the YouTube channel. Is that correct?
Yes, but it's kind of, it goes back way further than that. So I don't
Okay.
know how long of a story you want, but originally, I had a business at my house and it was called Rachel's Creekside Gardens. And we had a wedding venue and we had a small nursery here. And I had added a little shed as a cottage because I had a little bit of an interest in doing the upcycling and that kind of thing. So, we did that for a few years. It was really tough getting people out here because we do live a ways out. And we just ran into other logistical issues and we started thinking, maybe it's time we start to think about maybe moving into town. And so my husband, it was actually kind of he was the one who pushed me into, because honestly, the wedding venue was fun, but it's exhausting. It is so much work. And it was just a lot. It took all of our weekends. And so, he started kind of pushing me in this direction. And so
Right.
he started looking on Craigslist for some place for me to be. And we started driving around town and just looking at buildings and things. And we ended up finding the one that I'm in. And my mind started to kind of go and just realized what all I could do with it. And so we ended up where we are now. So it was a lot. Initially, I just wanted a nursery, and so
Oh
everything else has been kind of a bonus, really. So,
gosh, that's awesome. So
yeah.
yes, you're very much like me that you love garden or like love gardening. I'm assuming if you love the
Yeah,
nursery portion.
yeah,
So
yeah, I really do. That's kind of what got me started, honestly, and even having a business. The idea was always to have a nursery, and then everything else just kind of fell into place to add to that. So, yeah.
awesome. I love it. So when you first opened, then you just had the nursery portion, and then what did the inside look like? So if you guys haven't,
Um,
you definitely have to head over because her picture, like the vignettes that she creates, are absolutely stunning. So inside, was it more nursery type thing then, or?
No, when we first got the building, it was a complete and utter disaster. I mean, it
Oh,
was a mess. It took like 2 months of just work painting inside and outside.
okay,
And, then we had to build a fence around the back to house the nursery because we're in a neighborhood.
right.
And so it was a lot of preparation. By the time we were finished, though, nursery season was already over. So it was basically concentrating on trying to fill this now 1,000 square foot space that I had with stuff, and it was very sparse at first. Honestly, it took a while to get it to where, it felt like it was honestly full. It was definitely a process.
Oh, yeah, I can only imagine. Well, I also had a storefront with my mom, so at least we had a combined force of double the stuff. But yes, it definitely took. I look back at our first pictures of our store, like the first couple months to like before we actually closed
Yeah.
our storefront down, and it was like it's amazing the difference. So
Yeah.
it, anything takes a little time, but
Yeah, it's crazy when I look at how it looked when we initially opened as opposed to what it looks like now. I mean, we've built walls inside, we've added display space. It's just really kind of crazy how it's evolved over the past almost 3 years now. So,
right.
but yeah, and the nursery has just kind of fell into place. And it was another thing that just took, time to, kind of pull together and make it look full. And I just put a pumpkin patch in this year. So it's always something that's changing. So,
Right.
but yeah. And then, of course, my friend Jamie and I have had booths on top of everything. So it's always been kind of a lot of work.
So that was like one of the questions too that I wanted to find out. So, Jamie and Rachel have booths that they share together. Now, did you have your booths first or your storefront first?
We had booths first
Oh, you
together.
did.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was wondering too. Okay. So, and that's kind of like been ever changing as well as, because I think from what I understand in Washington, a lot is changing with like locations. And I saw a post recently like support your local businesses in Washington. So,
Mhm.
it's like some businesses are definitely struggling.
Yeah. It's been a hard road lately for a lot of the smaller businesses, especially it seems like in the vintage niche is just kind of struggling a little bit.
Oh,
So we are lucky to still have because the one business we were in did close down, so we lost our one booth, but we still have one in Coeur d'Alene together. And so yeah, it's totally Jamie's fault, honestly, that I even do all of the upside cycling and stuff because she talked me into like 12 years ago, she talked me into going to an Annie Sloan chalk painting class.
okay.
And it's what kind of got me addicted to the whole furniture thing and upcycling. And so I did my daughter's dresser, and then I did a little piece that I found on the internet for our living room, and it just kind of snowballed from there. So
Awesome. I know
yeah,
it's actually kinda Jamie's fault that, we met
we know
too.
each other. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
I
She
know.
was the one who kept telling me about your group and what she was learning and all the things. And so I was like, I think I need to be in this group. So I
Yeah,
joined.
I know.
So,
I know. I'm like, "Oh." And, yeah, so that's really awesome that you guys, like, share your booth, and my mom and I also shared a booth, together after because we had to shut our storefront down, and then we had a booth together. And some of the challenges that my mom and I faced were we both wanted, like we both had our own vision. We wanted it equal. Like I wasn't taking too much, she wasn't taking too much. Do you find that you guys struggle with any of that, or do you just kind of work? I mean, it sounds like you work really well together.
Fortunately, we really do. We've always had a really good relationship. We found that the key is really communication, and just kind of playing off of each other. She definitely has different tastes than I do, and so that's something to take into consideration when we're building a booth. And she tends to look to me just because she says I have more of an eye for putting together vignettes and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So that's always kind of been my part of bringing everything together and making it look cohesive and stuff. And we just talk, we talk about what colors we want to use and the things that we want to kind of work towards and stuff, and collaborate a lot and just try and keep a decent flow in our booth space. So and that helps. Definitely communication's a big thing. So.
Absolutely. And I would have to, yeah, I would have to agree 100% communication because yeah. And I'm just thinking back to when we had our booth and like that, and I think some of the lack of communication. So I would have my vision and I'd be rolling it with it, and then she would have her
Yeah.
vision, and sometimes there would be like, I wouldn't say a clash, but so that's great that you guys
Yeah, and
collab.
it happens, it happens where both of you, even if you think you have the same vision, you're still two different people that you totally have different takes on the same thing, and so there were times where we'd bring stuff together and I was like, how's this going to work? But we always managed,
Yeah.
Jamie is a great thrifter. She is fantastic at finding bargains. She always kind of spots good deals, and so no matter what, she always had good stuff for backup. Even if there was something that really didn't work, we always had other things to choose from. So it was not that big of a deal.
Awesome. So now, do you guys go thrifting together or do you go on your own thrifting missions?
We go on our own thrifting missions. We tend to be a little competitive, and so, so it's usually best if we hit different locales at different times. Jamie, she's a rusher. She can zip through a thrift store in no time flat, not even kidding, and still manage to come out with some great stuff. Me, I'm more the one who needs to look at everything 3 or 4 times and really scope out all of the things before I make my decisions. I'm the one who puts like 17 things in my cart and then goes through them and tries to figure out which ones I actually want to keep. She's like bing, bang, boom, done.
Okay. Okay. Wow. I have been trying to be more like that where I just go through and I'm like, okay, if it catches my eye right away. And what I've noticed too is like I've been trying to videotape that portion of it, like as I'm walking through the store. And sometimes as I'm like editing my videos, I'm like, oh, I missed that. But it's because I'm trying to like be more like, okay, whatever catches your eye right away. So but yeah, one other thing too is like when I'm leaving the thrift store and if somebody runs into me, they're like, "Oh, I shouldn't even go in because you got all the good stuff." And I'm like, there is probably a lot more to be had in there. So
Yeah.
it
And, like, it's the same with everything. Your tastes are totally different. I've even seen other ladies thrifting at the same time as me that I know have shops, and I'll follow them through an aisle, and the things that they're picking up and putting in their cart are usually things I wouldn't have even glanced at anyway. So, most of the time, we leave plenty behind for
yes.
everyone else because we're oftentimes looking for specific items to fill a void or create a vignette or whatever, so there's always stuff to
Yeah,
be found at the thrift store.
right. So, I do need to find out, have you always had a love of thrifting or did Jamie introduce you to that as well?
Um, Jamie definitely loves thrifting more, but I have been, and she's probably been thrifting longer than I have, honestly. I started thrifting many, many moons ago out of need, honestly. I was a single mom. I had 2 kids and couldn't afford brand new clothing for them all the time. And so my friend Ellie actually introduced me to one of the thrift stores here in town, and I started going on a regular, and then started expanding from there. And pretty soon that's where I got all my clothing. It wasn't until later when I started honestly watching you, Jamie Ray, some of the other gals on YouTube, that I started searching for like home goods and that kind of thing to upcycle. That really wasn't in my wheelhouse necessarily. I had done the furniture part, but I really wasn't into doing the smalls. I more shopped for things that were already finished, pictures and things that I could just put right out, that kind of stuff.
Mhm. Which
So
I think is still really important to do. Like, you can't upcycle every piece, so it's
yeah,
good to have a mix.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we should take a pause and say we've been talking about Jamie a lot and referring to her as Jamie.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce Jamie? Your kind of like, I guess she's kind of your booth partner and her
Mhm.
business. Do you want to just give her a shout out?
Yeah, her business is Jamie's Eclectic Treasures, and she doesn't have a YouTube presence at all, but she is on YouTube, or not YouTube, but Instagram and Facebook. And like I said, we do share the booth together. We're actually going in together with some other gals from Reclaim Cottage over in Coeur d'Alene, where our booth is, and we're doing a big event. So it's our first ever big event. So we're trying to get everything ready for that. We're a bit nervous, but we're hopeful it'll be a good one. So
All right. I didn't know anything about this. So tell us a little bit about I want to hear about the event.
it
So,
should be fun. It's called Vintage Market Days, and it's held at the Kootenai County Fairgrounds over in Coeur d'Alene. And it's the in a big barn. So it's a huge barn when you enter. And our booth, I guess, is going to be in the big barn where you enter. So that should be fun. I think we have 3 booth spots. And there are 6 of us ladies, plus the owner of the Reclaim Cottage. So her name's Becky.
mhm.
And so she's the one who's been kind of pushing us to do this. And finally, we were just like, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to try. So we all are kind of getting our own little space within the big space.
Okay.
And then we've got a gal who's doing jewelry. We've got a gal who's doing like kids' clothes. Then Jamie and I will, of course, have our place. And then I think Becky is going to be doing demos for some paint and things, but it should be really fun. We're, like I said, we're just a little nervous about booth setup and stuff like that, having the backdrops and the backgrounds and all the skeleton things that you need to have a booth together,
Mhm.
so we'll
I
see how
know
it goes.
that is key, like, to go in and set up the bones of it first to make it look good, and then start bringing in, like, all the big pieces, and then, building from there. But,
Yeah, for
wow,
sure.
that's awesome, 6 of you. You guys are
Yeah,
gonna be able to pull it all together, and
I
it's
hope so. Yeah, it should be fun. I mean, at the end of the day, if we can make some sales, that'd be awesome, just a really great experience. So,
it.
yeah.
So when is it?
It is not the Father's Day weekend, but the weekend after Father's Day. So, and
Oh, like, coming up.
it's
It's, like,
close.
coming
Yeah, it is close. And for me, I am a huge planner. I like to know that I'm doing things months in advance so I can start getting ready. We
Yeah.
didn't even sign up for this thing until like April.
Oh, wow.
So it
Okay.
is hardly any time to like get this whole booth together. And so we had a meeting last week, and I think we're all pretty much on the same page. But like I said, it's quite the push to get everything ready in that short amount of time. So we'll
Okay.
see.
I'm sure you guys are gonna everything will come together just fine.
Thank you, Sonnet.
But I am very much like you too. I'm a planner. I like to, like, I have to have, like, a vision, and then I have my, like, lists, and yes,
Yeah,
I'm very much
yeah,
like that, and
yeah. I know I pulled a lot from you over the couple years that I've 3 years now, 2 years that I've been watching you on YouTube. And as you prep for your events that you do, it's just definitely helped me kind of learn what to like look for and some things to pull together and that kind of thing. So it's great to have your past videos to kind of look back on for a little bit of guidance. So
Good.
oh,
Well, I'm glad that it can help you because believe me, I just remember from the time I did like my first booths to like the last few, the big ones. It's just it it definitely my booth has changed, but
yeah.
the one key thing is that your booth should be like an experience for the shoppers. So, like layering and all that good stuff because I find there's so many booths that you go to, or like if you're at a venue and they have a table and everything's laying flat, it's so I'm
Yeah.
like, give it some height. So,
Work up. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So it should be fun. I think we've got, because layering is definitely a key. And so I've been madly working on little tables and risers and all those good things to try and have plenty of different levels of decor for the people. So we'll
Right.
see how it goes. I will definitely be reporting on it on my YouTube channel, I'm sure. So yeah.
Good.
My
Yes.
other big event that I do every year is just it's so garden centric that it's just plants.
Yes.
So it's honestly pretty easy to pull together because I just take loads and loads of plants, set them on tables, and I usually take a little bit of decor, but this is totally the opposite where it's all the decor and everything. So it's a little bit more planning and in-depth kind of trying to figure everything out. So we'll see.
Okay. So, because I'm not I've heard of vintage market days, but I have never experienced it. So how long do they give you to set up? Do they give you like a day or do you have a couple days?
I think it's a day. For whatever reason, this year is the first year, I guess, that they're doing a lottery. So it's Wednesday and Thursday are setup days, and then the event goes Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So
Oh,
this year they're splitting up everybody between the Wednesday and the Thursday setup days. So we don't know which of those days yet we're actually going to be allowed to set up our booth. So I think they're just trying to cut down on the amount of people that are trying to all get their booth set up at the same time. So it kind of
mhm.
makes sense. It's just a little more nerve wracking because then you only have the day to get everything ready. So we'll
Right.
see how it goes.
That is
So,
very nerve-wracking. I'll just tell you, like, when I set up for Cranberry Fest, and then we basically were able to set up, like, I think it was at, like, 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, we could get there, and then we had the day to set up, but it is really nerve-wracking,
yeah.
because yeah, and then
And
but
that was nice because it's just you and you know where all your stuff is.
yeah,
This is trying to coordinate 6 different ladies all together, trying to figure out where everybody is and all of our things and stuff. So it's gonna be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I'm excited and nervous at the same time. So
I know. Well, I'm excited. I can't wait to see the photos. Definitely, I can't wait to watch
yeah.
the YouTube video too, and I'm
Yeah.
sure some short like reels and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah. All the good social media things.
Yep, yep. Okay. So back to thrifting a bit. So when you go on your thrifting missions, now do you go with your husband as well? Is that what you had mentioned? Okay. You and Tara. I interviewed Tara last.
I know, I watched the interview. Honestly, a lot of my answers are a lot of like hers.
Are they? Okay.
Because she talked a little bit about how her and her husband like to spend time together, and they don't really have a lot of that, available. And it's the same for my husband and I. My days off are Sunday, Monday. His days off are Saturday, Sunday. So the only one that correlates is Sunday. And if I leave the house to go out thrifting all day, it leaves him here by himself, and we never would see each other, except for mornings and nights. And so it kind of started as just a way for us to spend time together. However, I have to say, my husband has become quite good at at thrifting over the years. It's funny, and he's kind of learned my taste more because at first he would bring me things that I'm just like, no.
I can only imagine. That would be my take, like, "Oh, thank you, honey. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that you thought
yeah.
of me."
I just really think not though. Not
Oh,
today, maybe next week. Yeah, so at first it was a lot of that, and I got so tired of having to tell the poor man no, and that he learned, and eventually he started bringing me things that I actually liked, and now I can tell him, "Hey, will you go check out the art? I'm looking for, a piece with some garden scene, or I'm looking for a snow scene, or whatever," and he usually brings me back some good stuff, and I know just not too long ago, he comes trundling down the aisle carrying an end table, and it's heavy, mind you. And he's like, I found this and I thought you'd like it, but there was another guy looking at it, so I just brought it with me.
I love it.
So, and
Oh,
of course, I couldn't tell him to take it all the way back to the furniture part department. So I was like, yeah, throw it in the cart. And it ended up turning up really cute. So, yeah, he does a good job. And so he's just kind of become my thrifting partner. So,
yes. So is he involved with your business a lot too, or just kind of the thrifting side of it?
he isn't super involved, but he is definitely there to help me if I need it. So, sometimes I have things I need to go do on like a Saturday, and he'll come in and cover the shop for me. He's always there to, if I say, honey, I need this built, or honey, I need that done, he's always right there to get it done for me. So that's great. So
That
yeah,
is
he's kind of the man behind the scenes. He calls himself Mr. Rachel. That's
Mr.
him.
Right. I love it.
So,
Yes, I know it's good to have, like, a good support system like that
for
because
sure.
I think to myself, if I would not have my husband, like, in the behind the scenes as well, picking up some of my slack, like, on days when,
Yeah,
I just could not be doing what I do, so we are
yeah,
very, very lucky.
yeah,
Uh,
for sure.
I don't know yet. I should just rip the Band-Aid off and bring them with me thrifting. I don't know. I
You
it's
never know.
I
You
know.
might train him up to be great at it. You just never know.
Yes. I know, it's so funny because he always like, "Oh, you picked up another thing?" Like, I'm always, like, looking for stuff on the roadside, but then the other day, he calls me and he's like, "Hey, over on Fremont Street, there's a table. It's got the legs off. It looks like it's in pretty good condition. You want me to grab it?" And I'm like, "Are you feeling okay?" Mhm.
So he's actually, kind of helping fuel the roadside curb find addiction. So
Right.
yeah,
Yes, but
yeah.
I had already, checked that one out, and I had passed on it, so I'm like, "Oh, thank
So,
you, honey, but that's a no-go." He's like, "Oh, okay, good."
that was so nice of him to even ask.
I know. So, maybe I'm converting him a little bit, but he
It
does.
sounds like it.
Yeah. So,
Sounds like it.
I don't know about getting him into a thrift store. I can barely get him into Walmart because he doesn't like even going there. So, but so when you guys go thrifting, do you guys start with like a specific budget in mind? It sounds like you have ideas of what you're going to thrift for. But do you have a budget? Like, I'm only going to spend this amount of money this week, or is it just like a free for all?
For me, it's more about just the stuff itself. I'm terrible about budgeting. I kind of will throw like a certain amount of cash in my purse.
Okay.
And I have one of those cute little credit cards that only has like a certain amount on it. So when I go out, once that's declined, I know it's pretty much time to stop shopping. Um, so, but you just never know. It's so hard to know when you go out what you're going to run into. Because what if today's the day you find that beautiful dresser that's $100 that you just have to have? I mean, that would just blow my budget right out of the water. So
Exactly.
I usually I try more to keep in mind what shelf space I have available in my shop because I don't have a lot of storage space. And kind of what I'm looking for and just try and keep it to that as much as possible. So
Okay. So it sounds like you're pretty good at like taking the items and upcycling them and pricing, cleaning them and pricing them and getting them out on the floor right away. So you don't have a lot of inventory.
I try. I really do try. Sometimes I'm not so great at it. I definitely clean them and inventory them right away. And then because I have such limited space in my kitchen, I try to not overstock my shelves. But then what I did do was put another shelving unit in my bathroom. And so now, now I have even more space that I can put more stuff. So, it's the problem is one day you might find a ton of candle holders, but you can't make a good vignette with just a bunch of candle holders. And then the next week you might find some boxes. You never know really what you're going to have. And I like to, when I do my YouTube videos, as much as possible, I really like to kind of create a vignette. And I've noticed you kind of do the same thing where
Mhm.
you pull a few different items that are kind of can go together. And it's really difficult if you don't have, you know, all the different components to be able to pull from to do that. So, I really try to have a decent enough backstock that I can afford to do that. And honestly, I still have stuff in my garage here that is that I'm still slowly weeding through. So I mean, I still have a stash here as well. So, and furniture is that's my one addiction. I absolutely love finding beautiful old pieces of furniture like on Marketplace and Craigslist and things. And my husband's basically told me at this point that I'm not allowed to put anything in there unless I take a piece out
Oh.
because it's pretty full.
And I find that it's been getting harder and harder to find like beautiful pieces like in my area. Like it the Goodwills, they don't have the furniture like they used to. And even on the roadside, it's like when you see something or when I see something, I am gonna make it fit into my vehicle no matter what. I will stand there and I will wait for, like my dad to come
Back up.
help me
Yeah,
if I have to.
yeah,
So
for sure. We don't. It's funny because we live out in the country. So we don't go through a lot of residential areas like on our way to and from work. So it's not very often that we find anything on the side of the road, unfortunately.
yeah.
And in the area where my shop is tends to be it's definitely not one of the ritzier areas in town. And so most of the time what I see on the roadside are old flea bitten couches or those old pressboard entertainment centers that are falling apart, those kind of things. And so it's very rare that I find an actual roadside thing that I can take home, but it happens once in a great while. So
I know.
those are always fun though.
Yeah. I am like I said, I'm always looking and most of the time, they still need some work. So I am
Yeah.
willing to take the time. But so you mentioned your kitchen, and this is a great segue to talk about, your YouTube channel. So you do most of your like thrift hauls in your kitchen, and that's where you do all your thrift flips, correct? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's actually a kitchen? Is that why you call it the kitchen? Is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. My building used to house the building that I'm in, it's very old and it has housed a whole lot of different businesses. And it was a dry cleaner originally, way back in the day. In fact, I actually have vendors in my cottage. So I have local artists who I actually have their wares in my cottage as well. And my jewelry guy, his mother worked at the dry cleaner. It was her first job way, way back in the
Really?
day. So he
Oh,
actually grew up on Diamond Street, just down the road from my shop. So it's been a lot of things. And it was a restaurant for a little while. And so they put in a commercial kitchen. So that's why I refer to it as the kitchen. So I've got one of those big, huge, deep industrial three partition sinks and then a hand washing station and a refrigerator. I used to have a dishwasher, but I had the landlord go ahead and take that out when I moved in because I really didn't want a dishwasher in there. Although there are days where when I bring some thrifted stuff home, I wish I had the dishwasher now to run through, the
Right.
glassware and that kind of stuff. Didn't even think about it. But anyway, so yeah, and my kitchen has become my studio. So that's where I do all of my work and my thrift haul videos and that kind of thing. So
Nice. So, uh, how did your YouTube channel come about? I have to know. Like, so it sounded like you had your booths, then your storefront, which kind of, evolutionized into what it is today. And then what made you decide that you were going to start a YouTube channel?
honestly, it was watching other YouTubers like yourself, and Ginger Chick and some of the others. And um, I think your encouragement quite a bit really kind of helped me keep me motivated and things. And it just kind of started. Honestly, I gave it a shot, and Jamie kind of pushed me to go ahead and do it because I've been hemming and hawing about the thought of doing it because I knew it was a good way to make a little bit of money. When you're in a small business, as you've said a million times, it's good to have lots of revenue streams. And so I thought, what the heck, I'll give it a shot and we'll see where it goes. Never in a million years would I have thought that I would have over 11,000
I know.
subscribers to my channel,
I am so
ever.
proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you. My husband says so too. I'm just in awe. I mean, it's just that many people could find interest in the things that I do. It's a little overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
So
I have to tell you because, when I polled my people or my people, my people, I polled my viewers on I think it was on a live or it was maybe on one of my YouTube videos, and your name has come up several times. They wanted me to interview you on my podcast, and I was like, "Oh my gosh." So you should feel like just real I think it's just such a feeling blessed that, you know
absolutely.
'cause that's how I feel every single day too, like, just blessed that we have people following us and watching us and that
Yeah.
love us like our people. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's almost like you create your own little family of people who are there to root you on and support you and, comment on your videos even if they don't have a lot to say one week, they still say something, and
I
it's really awesome just to have all of that communal support. So it's
I
great.
know. I just remember when you first started and I think you were trying to just, hit that 1,000 mark, and I was so excited when you hit that, and, I just remember
Yeah.
too, like, when, I first started, my daughter's like, "You're not gonna be famous until you hit 10K." So we're both officially famous, Rachel, according to my daughter.
Yay!
Oh, but,
Crazy to
yeah,
think about. I know. My husband always says, if you took all of your YouTube followers and you put them in the arena, it would pack the place. And it's such a wild thought, that if all those people were in one place together, they could fill like a venue. It's just kind of weird.
no, it is, like, that many people have found you, and, uh,
Yeah.
I always also think that there's so many more people that just haven't found us yet, and it's gonna
Yeah.
keep growing and growing,
Yeah,
so
it's crazy, I mean, it's just YouTube's such a great venue to put yourself out there and I mean, you can learn so many things on YouTube. It's great. And the inspiration that you can get just from watching other creators, I mean, I have a huge list of creators that I follow. Not that I have the time really to sit and watch all of them always, but every once in a while I'll be like, I haven't seen so and so in a long time, so I need to watch two or three other videos really quick. And it just gives me such great inspiration. It's awesome, you know?
Oh, I know, absolutely, and I feel the same way, like, I am so, so busy, especially now, like, with my, daughter and all the sports that she's in and just,
Mhm.
managing everything else that I used to watch just a ton of YouTube videos, and now I feel like I don't. So like, Friday evenings when it's real low key, I just sit down and I watch all you guys, and I'm like, "Oh," I do get
Mhm.
inspired, and so it's like I miss those days where I could slow down enough and just take it all in, and, just I love watching and seeing one thing that will inspire me and think like, oh, I could do something very similar to that. So
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's a great idea. Yeah.
yeah.
I found that because editing video, I find to be the most boring process ever is going through and actually editing the videos. And
Mhm.
I find that it's nice background, music, I guess, to have one of my creators kind of that I can kind of watch and still edit my video at the same time and listen to their voice as I'm doing something kind of mundane, So it definitely, so that's kind of become my ritual when I'm editing my videos is I'll throw a couple YouTube videos on the TV and then sit and edit my videos. So it helps pass the time and make it seem like not quite as big a chore.
Oh, that is honestly one of the things that I hate doing the most too, is editing.
Yep.
Like, because you have to,
Yeah.
like, pull in all the clips and, fix everything and then
Yes, run through all the film and make sure you've got the good scenes and everything. Yeah. If there was one thing I could pay someone else to do, that would probably be the thing.
I know. I know. I'm trying to as I, continue to grow my business too, I'm like, what would I want to or what could I entrust somebody else to do? And I get a little nervous. Like I think like, I don't know if I can, like what can I, like
Mhm.
assign to somebody else? And um
Without micromanaging it yourself over their shoulder.
I
Yeah.
know. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I just like, ew, it's just everything to like folding my like recycled papers for my subscription box. I'm like, I have a certain
Yeah.
way that I like to do it. And then I'm letting somebody else do this month's and I'm like, oh, it's folding a piece of papers on it. I mean,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
it will be
Yeah.
fine. So
It will be fine.
it will be fine.
Yeah. Delegate, delegate, delegate.
Yeah. I'm trying. I'm trying. So
Yeah, it's
but
hard.
I think that editing a video would probably be very difficult to, like, offload to somebody else because you have your own unique way of
Mhm.
doing it but do you think that will be
Yeah.
eventually where you'll be able to have somebody do that for you?
I don't know. I'm such a complete control freak that I just don't know. My kids will tell you I was the mom who would have them do a chore, and then when they were done, I would come and redo it because it wasn't quite done the way I wanted it done in the first place. So I have a feeling that might just very well be the way that it would go if I let somebody else edit my videos. I might redo it anyway.
My gosh. Yes, yes, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I hope I'm not gonna have to refold paper. I won't.
yeah, no, I wouldn't go that far, I don't think. Okay, once it's folded, just leave it be.
Right, right. Yes. So, you talked about being inspired. So where do you drum up the most inspiration? Like, who inspires you the most in the creative world?
Oh, that's tough. There's a lot. You, of course, I've been watching for a long time. Julie's Designs and Signs, I watched her way back in the day. Then there's Ginger Chick. She and Jamie, or she was one of the ones that Jamie and I, when we first started,
Yeah.
we had this plan in our head that we were going to do just like Ginger Chick. We are going to paint everything black and then white over it and just dress back to the black. And we tried that for a little while and it got really boring really fast. So we ended up changing. But she was definitely one of the early, inspirations. And then recently, I've added, of course, Heather with Create Your Own Cozy. I love watching her stuff. Kristen has become in our group. I really want to do some of the things that Kristen does with her, like mixed media and stuff like that. Because I find after a while doing smalls is fun, but I've really been kind of wanting to do something a little different. And she has a lot of cute things that she does. And
Mhm.
so I'm definitely there. And then Jamie Ray and her husband, Deb, every once in a while, I'll turn on one of their little shows and or
Yeah.
episodes and watch it. My only thing there is that they're long, and so they're ones that I have to have a good amount of time to actually sit and see the entire thing. So but yeah, there's quite a few. Dion, Brush by Brandy, I watch her once in a while to learn how to do things with furniture. So it's kind of one of my goals is I want to up my game as far as my furniture goes. So
Mhm.
But
I
and
know.
Tatcha's great with the furniture too, so.
Yes, yes. I definitely want to get better at blending. That is one of my goals, like blending for, the paint and definitely upping my game too for the furniture pieces and just trying to not just paint one solid color, like just to
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
to take it up a notch, make it more. Because I mean, can't really call myself a furniture artist if I just throw a coat of paint on it, distress it, and call it a day. So that's kind of where I'm trying to kind of graduate up into the next levels. And there are so many techniques to learn and things to know. It's crazy.
I know. And
Um,
like you mentioned about Kristen and her mixed media, that's exactly how I like seeing recently she did that like Dow. I don't know if you watched her when she created that
I
Dow.
saw that. I haven't actually watched it yet, but I
And
saw her kind of like do a little snippet, a previewing thing of
yes,
it.
yes.
So
Yeah, and so I am just like, wow. So, and if you guys are just, tuning in now, Kristen is with Simply Joy Creations by Kristen, and she was the very first person that I interviewed. And one thing that I talked about in my membership group is going live. And she was nervous about it, but she officially went live, and now I think she even said she's like loving it.
yeah, she's rocking it.
Totally, totally rocking it. So
Yeah.
I love
Yeah, she's
it.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just and there's so many other places that you can find inspiration. I mean, just search YouTube for anything and you can find it. It's great.
Yes,
So
absolutely. So going back to like, the different like how you want to up your furniture game and things like that. So let's say you have your piece, your thrifted item and you want to upcycle it. Do you have a process that you go through? Like you talked about pulling different vignette, items to go build a vignette. But do you know right away when you see the item what you want to do with it? Or is it just like you just sit there and you brainstorm, or what is your process?
I am a ruminator. I like to sit and look at something for a while before it actually comes together in my head. I have to almost create a picture of it done in my head before I can get started on it. And there are times where I'll buy a piece and I will sit and stare at it for a while and nothing comes to me, nothing. And so I have to just set it aside and go do something different and then come back and look at it again later. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
Yes. I know like when I'm getting ready to do my videos too, like I stand there and I look back and I'm like scoping everything out, and it will be one item that catches my eye. I grab that, and then that's when I start pulling the pieces for the vignette. And then even for today's video, like I kind of mentioned, the last couple weeks have been so crazy. I normally like to have things like pre-planned and taped, and it's like I'm running, like around like a chicken with my head cut off. And so this morning I grabbed a couple pieces, and one color spoke to me, and that kind of like inspired the rest of the entire vignette. So, uh,
good.
but yeah,
Yeah, sometimes it works like that. It's sometimes you just have to kind of dive in, even if you only have like a color in mind,
right,
and then the process itself will kind of help build that idea. But I tend to sometimes I get in my own way, honestly, because I can't visualize what I want the piece to look like in the end. And I will go, I'll run through all of these different options and different things. And sometimes it's a matter of just getting started, picking the color and getting started, and then everything else just kind of comes together. So, it really kind of depends on the piece. So,
right.
and right now I'm working on a little dresser, and I had started with one vision in my head, and now I'm going with something completely of the other direction. And so, you can't be afraid too to sometimes just change direction midstream, because your piece might tell you something different as you get started.
Right.
So it's funny how it goes.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
I know, like, when I recently created the sign on my one of my last YouTube videos, and I was using, Mercantile, which is the new IOD stamp, and I was building the sign as I was taping. So, like, I knew kinda, like, my vision sort of, but
Mhm.
then all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna put this stripe here, and I'm gonna do this stripe." And then I'm like, "Oh, but now I really wanna put this stamp here." And I'm like, "Oh, I don't know." So anyways, long story short, people were commenting like, "Why didn't you use the masks that IOD gives you?" And I'm like, yeah, had I known I was gonna do what I did, I would have used the masks, like, sometimes it's just, like, your creative process is,
Mhm.
like, all
Yeah.
crazy, so
Yeah, the freight train starts moving and there's just no stopping it.
I know,
It's goes.
exactly, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I probably should have used or thought about using those," but it was more yeah, I was just building, and then I wanted to fix something. Oh, it just turned into but I loved how it turned out, and it was a
And
sign for me,
yeah,
so
yeah, it's funny how that works sometimes. Sometimes you end up with a piece that isn't even really what your vision was, but it still works,
yeah.
and even if it's not your favorite thing, somebody out there is gonna love it, so
Absolutely. I know because, like, at the end of the day, when I always say, like, "What was your favorite item," in my thrift flips? I know that there's one that in the end, I probably was, like, not 100% happy with how it turned out, but somebody else will love it and will buy it.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yep, yep, there's always everybody has different tastes. That's what's beautiful. Another thing about the YouTube family is because when you put together all of those people, all of them aren't going to like the same exact thing. And that's sometimes I think people get a little stuck on, they want to see you do this, and this every time. And it's like, but I want to do all sorts of different things. And not everybody's going to like every single thing. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
I know.
Because I mean, I have some viewers I know they really don't like distressing,
Oh, yeah.
and it's you know, but they know that I'm not going to always distress everything. So as long as they are okay with the things that I do distress and they know that I'm still going to do things that aren't, we're all good. It's all,
Right.
it's always something. There's something for everybody always, it seems like. So
Oh, I know, and I've just come to terms with you're never gonna make everyone 100% happy.
yeah,
So,
yeah, and you just can't. You're only one person.
I
So,
know.
and my taste is different than other people's, and that's okay, and that's the other beautiful thing about YouTube is the people who don't necessarily like my taste absolutely, don't have to watch me. And but I find that there are people who don't necessarily like everything I do, but they really enjoy some of my content, so they stick around, and so that's nice.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. So, going back to YouTube, what has, like, been some of your struggles or obstacles that you've had to overcome with your YouTube channel or creating YouTube videos?
Time. It's just time. Sometimes it's because, you try to put out a consistent product. You want your videos to come out at the same time every week. And life can sometimes get in the way. And I am, I've always been one of those people who, if I say I'm going to do something on a certain day, I will do my darndest to make sure that
Mhm.
that happens. And so sometimes I trip over other things just trying to get my YouTube videos ready, and um, so it's time and organization and trying to keep everything on track. Those are the things that I run into the most that
Right.
are hard with YouTube, just um sometimes it's just about having the right pieces too, it's like, and having that inspiration. It's hard, to always have an idea to, for every single video. That's why I love sometimes doing the thrift hauls, because when you're out of ideas, you can show people the cool new stuff that you just got, and maybe that
Mhm.
will help actually inspire something. So,
Yes.
but yeah, it's just time is the hardest thing. So,
I would agree 100%, and the inspiration too. You totally nailed it because, I now are you doing 2 videos a week? Yes, so
Yeah.
I am too, and so I think sometimes viewers tend to not realize that there is so much more that goes out, in on the back end, and for us to continuously be inspired, and like for instance, I know my viewers, they love my thrift to treasure videos, like all the thrift flips, and I
Mhm.
would love to be doing those like twice a week, but that's a lot. I mean,
Mhm.
being inspired and creating can sometimes be exhausting.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Mentally you just kind of it's almost like you just run out of juice.
Yes. No,
And
I know.
it's hard sometimes to get restarted, and it's just, coming up with a color scheme, or, the decoupage paper you want to use, or, what do I want to do this week? And then having the things, and finding the time, and then editing the video. It's just, it can be very daunting sometimes. And when and then there are days where you just feel blah.
No,
you
I
know,
know.
and just like you just really don't want to do anything, and it's hard because you have to just try and keep pushing yourself because everything takes time, and they don't see, when I paint something, that's all well and good, but then it's got to sit there for half an hour while it dries, or longer sometimes, and so then I have to move that, and try and put something else in its space.
Talking about painting and paint drying, I do have to say that on my last couple lives, because I was so, I've been so like, I wouldn't say burned out, but I was really at the very end of my creative, like I felt like I was drying up because I've been,
Yeah.
tackling a lot. And so I want to still go live and like interact with my viewers. So I took a train case, like a vintage train case, and I was like, okay, I was trying to be, like I love getting their feedback. And so we all agreed I was going to paint it black. So I'm painting it black. Well, it takes time to paint it for it to dry. You have to do two coats. And after we got the idea going, so that was like 1 hour. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to let you guys go. We're going to let this dry because typically I've been doing 2 hours. And then the next time I came back and I showed him how to use the milk paint and we milk painted it. And a viewer wrote, wow, that was 2 hours of painting. Yep, it was. It
Yeah.
was 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. It
But
takes that amount of time,
it does.
some things do. And that's not including when you run into issues or problems with a piece. I can't tell you. And I try and I do go through that on my YouTube video. I'm not shy about telling people this is what happened. Just not too long ago, I had it was a door that I had bought, and trying to get the blasted paper off that thing so that I could even start on the project was hours of time,
Right.
and it's crazy how just little roadblocks like that can totally set you back. And it's like it's not like you have 8 hours to just sit and all of a sudden boom, all these things are
I
finished.
know.
It's you have to go at it a little bit here, go do other things, come back and do a little bit here, and it just things can get in the way. It's just crazy, things can get in the way. So time is definitely, it's hard to try and stay organized, keep on task, and get everything done when it's supposed to be done. And like you said, still have the inspiration to keep, going on to your next project.
Yeah.
So
So, what would be your tip or word of advice for anyone that is wanting to start a YouTube video at this point?
I would say keep it short and simple to get started. Don't overwhelm yourself with too high of expectations. Just keep it simple. I mean, if you only do one project for your video, that's okay. If that's all you have time for, don't overextend yourself. And maybe sit down and create your lists and have a nice itinerary going forward a couple months, so you know what your projects are going to be, what you really think you want to do to them, and kind of set yourself out an outline so that you're prepared ahead of time. Because you're going to run into days where you don't really have any inspiration and you don't have any good ideas. And if you've at least written something down, it might not be the greatest thing, but if you can just roll with it, chances are it'll turn out just fine. So,
Right. Yes, content calendars are amazing. And, I have been really trying to stick with that and do time blocking and all that good stuff, and, when you are adding new things, sometimes those things, like, take away from all of that.
mhm. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I've learned that from you too, from our group and stuff, just talking about, different organization techniques and things, and trying to sit down and write, like if these are the projects I need to get done, then these are the days that I need to get the certain steps done on each thing, and just having a little bit more of a routine.
Right.
That seems to help. So
Yeah. Well, good. Wow. I mean, you have been on quite the journey, from where your business started to where it is now. And I love it. I love that you continue to expand and grow. And I cannot wait to see, where you're going to be in like the next year. Do you have a vision of where you want to grow your business or where you want to expand?
as far as where I see myself, my husband and I have actually thrown around the thought of expanding and adding a location at some point. So that is a thought for the future. For now, I just am really happy to keep expanding my nursery and just kind of Jamie and I are hoping to possibly get into another booth at some point. So we'll see what happens there. Um, but other than that, just trying to stay busy and keep growing my YouTube channel. I can't wait to, see. I love watching it kind of click up on the daily and watch new people kind of join in. It's awesome. So
Yeah.
that's definitely one of those things. And then at some point, maybe having more of a Facebook presence too. So we'll see.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely. I mean, growing on social media, it's amazing how you're gonna just being on a different platform, you're going to, touch a different audience. So
yeah,
I realized that when I started tackling Facebook a lot more after I had a really established presence on YouTube, it is a different crowd over on Facebook than it is on YouTube. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, and just the other thing too is I want to get to a place with my website. I'm hoping to be able to start shipping out some of my smalls that I create, because it never fails when you finish a YouTube video. There's always somebody out there who's like, "Hey, is this or that for sale?" And right now, I don't have that capacity available on my website. The other thing, logistically, of course, is finding a place for all the shipping materials. I I know that can be a big deal too. So just having the space for the boxes and the packing material and all that available is the other flip side of that coin too. So we're trying to kind of figure all that out as
yeah,
well. But like I said, there could be another eclectic cottage down the road. Who
that's
knows?
exciting. I
We'll
am
see
very
what happens.
excited. Yeah. Well, that would be I guess I wasn't expecting you to say that, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
we've talked about it. I don't, it's just one of those dreams where it's like, we have our 5-year plan, and that is not in the 5-year plan. So that would be beyond, the 5 years. We'll see where we are at the end of 5 years and how things are going then. We're only at year 3 right now. So, it just, for the time being, it's just all about, just basically building the business. I now have, 4 different products that I'm offering in the shop. And then, like I said, we're expanding the nursery yearly. And so just trying to build up my little presence in my neighborhood. And then
great.
maybe eventually think about trying to find a secondary location. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So in the store, you're offering DIY paint, you're
Mhm.
offering the Sweet Pickins milk paint,
Yeah.
and then you just started offering the
Redesign with Prima.
redesign
Yeah.
Rose Prima, yes. And
Yeah.
then what is
And
your
then
4th
Roy
product?
Cycle.
Oh,
Roy
Roycycle, that's
Cycle.
right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So love her papers. So
Yes.
it's great because I feel like now I have the ability to help out other people that are in my area. If they want to do, kind of similar things of what I do, I'm a one-stop shop. They can come in. I've got the paints, I've got the decor products, I've got the paper. So it's kind of neat to have the people kind of find me and be able to come in and get all those things in my shop.
Right.
So
Well, very
yeah.
cool. Oh, I love it. I know, and I'm sure you're just gonna keep on expanding and doing, adding more products to your line, and that's kinda how I've been because as I fall in love with a new product that I really love, then I add it. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
awesome.
So,
Well, good. Any word of advice for somebody starting out with a storefront or a booth, that you wanna give them before we wrap this up?
um, just don't bite off more than you can chew. Make sure that you have a good business plan in place, and have a support system, because that's invaluable. Just having the people that are behind you that can help give you advice, help you out when you need it, all of the things. The good support system is really key. So,
Absolutely. Yes, great words of advice. I love it. But yes, don't bite off more than you can chew. Start small, like small, and then
yeah,
grow.
work your
Don't
way up. It's just if it's something that you've been dabbling in, there's no reason to go headlong into something that's going to be so overwhelming that you're going to want to back out right away. Start little, with maybe some of the gals in our group, they started with a bookcase.
I know.
And then they built themselves up into a booth, and if you love that and you want to keep going, then maybe another booth, and then, just work your way up and don't overwhelm yourself all at once.
Yeah,
And at the end of the day, you still want to enjoy what you're doing. you know,
yeah,
Once it becomes just a chore, it's kind of defeated its purpose.
exactly. Yes. I know, I never feel like this is a job. It's because I enjoy it so much. I love doing this every day. So, until yes, don't change that because then you will stop showing up and you will
Exactly.
feel defeated. So
Yeah, yeah, it'll feel like a chore, and you don't want this to feel like a chore. So it
no.
should be fun. So,
Oh, good. I love those words of advice. I love it. Well,
thanks.
thank you. So where can our viewers find you to be completely inspired, as much as I am when I watch you?
So I'm on YouTube. It's under the Eclectic Cottage, Spokane. And then I'm also on Instagram and Facebook under the same name. So it's just the Eclectic Cottage, Spokane.
Perfect.
So,
Well, good. And I will link all of Rachel's information in the description below. So you guys can head on over, follow her on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So you can be inspired as much as I am by all of her amazing thrift hauls and upcycles, and definitely all your amazing vignettes. I love seeing everything that you create in your shop like that. So, but I want to thank you so much for being part of my podcast today. And, I enjoyed having you. And you
yeah.
guys, in next week's episode, I am going to be talking about a little bit more about thrifting and collaborating with other creatives on thrifting missions. And we kind of talked about how today how Rachel collaborates with Jamie. They are not collaborating, but we're going to talk about that in next week's episode. And if you guys are listening to me on any of the podcast platforms, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe, so you don't miss out on an episode. And then you can also find me over on Facebook and Instagram as well at Sonnets Garden Blooms. And I hope you've enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks so much, Rachel, for joining me today. And bye, guys.